Hi, this is Lawson Electronics. Or today we're going to a video that somebody's been asking, and also I've talked about in the past of trying to test. This one is the pfSense Firewall kind of comparison. This is my video 2 in the series. We first did the UDM Pro with using the same kind of testing with the Nessus Essentials, which is free to download and be able to register for as long as you scan only up to 16 IPs. This is right now currently what I'm doing. I'm testing the pfSense firewall and showing kind of the differences in what I can recognize here. This also is kind of an idea. This is also talking about the little bit of the updates with the 2.5 pfSense update, which is done really easy and is a little bit easier to use than the previous versions. Um, so here, let's just kind of go through the basics. You can tell on how well the firewall is looking. Look here, Saracata's already kicking in. You can see the scans, and you can watch the real time when it's coming through. Here is the Nessus scans that we're actually running. So it's telling you it's running in real time. So you can actually see that it's doing pretty good. It shows all the vulnerabilities so far, or what it's trying to detect here, and tells me all the kind of everything we need to take a look at here. Tells that you can see that there is a detected the pfSense web interface. So we are telling me here, if we were trying to tell it, tells me if these are all the potential issues with this here, and we can tell that somebody's running a scan because look, Saracata's kicking right in here, running a real-time scan here of everything here. Here's all the logs going on here. Also tells us you can see the firewall logs right there. So you do have capabilities of looking at are there. Here's just kind of going through the basic rundowns. We're just going to go through one at a time here. Here's all my role sets so far set up. We can always improve it. This is just the basics right now. Here's all the packaging right here. I haven't run really much into a lot of packaging routing setup. You can tell what our routing setup here and show what we have here. Here is our setup wizard. We go our updates, which we don't need to really do right now. Let's go ahead and go to our assignments. Here's all our network set up right now. I could have a lot more roles in the firewall. It's just a basic test right now because I can tell it, hey, ignore all the requests from the outside of my network on this there land. But we're just kind of showing you what it looks like here when a simulated attack if you're on your network here. We haven't set up all the, here we have, here's our roles here. Here's our NTP servers. So we're going to go ahead and here, you can see here are so we're going to do this here. We're going to update that a little bit here. So we're going to tell it instead of just letting us know this going through here, because we're just letting you know, we're going to actually tell it to block it. Tells us everything's enabled. Or here's all our logs so far of everything it's trying to do here in the background. You can tell that Saracata is definitely doing a really good job on this because you can see all the logs so far that they have here we're highlighting, and this is just showing you, hey, that 7-minute scan, this is what it's telling us. Hey, this is what all the vulnerabilities of the device here. Tells us the host history, and you can see if you want to compare it to one of our basic network scans from our last one, you can tell the difference between how our vulnerabilities of our UDM Pro compared to our pfSense Firewall. You can see all the vulnerabilities. It says it's detected. It tells us, hey, by the way, here's what it does here, and we can use now. Granted, one's on a virtual machine, one isn't. This is how it says, hey, here's our OS detection. You are using the pfSense Firewall here. So it tells us a lot of useful information here. We can show here the detection, and here we run that. And we can see how well it works, because look, here is all the logs on Sericata that indicates that, hey, here's all the scans been trying to be ran against your network. Blocks, they show they haven't blocked anything, but those are where the blocks would be here. Here's all the suppressing. Here's logs. So there is our status right there. There's our traffic graph, system logs. Here's all my system logs that tell me all the GET requests that were attempted here and pulled. Here's our Sericata log right there. So you can see here the law of this pfSense Firewall, if you want to compare to what it is to some like my UDM Pro here, because you can see on this here, here's all the firewall law, here's our firewall settings here. And I haven't even halfly configured this. You can just tell this is a really good thing. Just here's all the detection of everything it was trying to do here that is running against this. See right there, it identified it here. Somebody tried to attack the network here. We're watching it here. Tells us every single time that somebody's here. Tells me all the users have tried here. So here's just going through our pfSense. This is the new version of the here. Here's my ARC table. Authentication. Command prompt. DNS lookup. Packet capturing. There's all the traffic is going through. Routes. Sockets. And this is just me just running basic configuration. I haven't even hardened the firewall yet. We're just going in to showing you the difference of what it can do just by pretty much I plug it in the box and in there add a couple different plugins, and it makes it really easy. Just as somebody that if I have a lot of experience of doing what I'm doing here, it would make it, I could still probably just run it because I can follow the articles online and without doing a lot of time and effort to put it in there. Different rule sets that we can always do, we can always improve. This is just like if I would just be installing the virtual machine and Sericata on there. This is pretty much what I'd be expecting. This is how my firewall operate, which is it does a really good job for what it is. Is it as easy as the UDM Pro configuration? No. That was when they made IT makes easy. They definitely mean IT makes it easy. I could probably hand it to my mother, who is not that technical illiterate on there, but she should be able to connect it just fine. I could give it to somebody that would not have a lot of experience with using any kind of information technology, and they would still be able to set up the UDM Pro without a problem. pfSense Firewall gives you a lot of access, but again, you need to have some idea of what they're meaning. You can't just click. You can technically click on each box, but you would need to know what's going on. Now, granted, anybody that would watch any other YouTube videos, which is example like my YouTube videos or any other ones, you could probably get a hang of it, because we've had videos on how to configuration of those kind of settings and what we can be able to use. And in the future, we'll go and we'll show you how to install the virtual machine, and how to install the new version, which is download the ISO and add it back in, because I think that's important, because we need to kind of go back to the basics to knowing how we got this and how we got here. And adding the plugins are really easy, because we can just go in here and go to our system, and we can go to package manager, which is really nice. Go to available packages. It's going to pull up all our available packages, and we can install a lot of them. You can see that that's the nice thing about this here, all our stuff we can be able to do. And I have not even got to about 1/5 of what I could be using here. I'm just showing you what we can be able to do. Now, there's a lot more we can be able to do to make it a lot more proficient. There's a lot of things we can do, a lot to secure this a little bit better. That was not here. I'm just trying to show you what it would be happen here. There's a lot of things we could be able to run on this that would be allowed to. There, I like it that we have a huge community on the pfSense Firewall, and I think it's important to kind of keep on growing and knowing about your security. Because the more you know about it, it's easier is to be able to look at to make sure that you know what's going on. Because again, if you don't know what's going on with your network, it makes it very difficult to fix problems or know what's going on with issues. Knowing how to configure, knowing how the port numbers work, UDP, TCP, showing what are those things we can simultaneously show you attack if you want to open up Wireshark. We've showed about that in the past. There's a lot you can be able to do to kind of look at if you're trying to compare each of these software, because we can go in here and we'll show all three of these videos, and we're going to go in, we'll have IP Firewall and compared to like the pfSense, because this is the pfSense video here on the testing of this, because I think this is going to be probably one of the more used firewalls here. Again, I'm going to try a couple other ones. If you guys have any other suggestions of free firewalls that we can test, I'll definitely be more than glad to try to use them. I'm going to work with getting OpenVAS running, because we're running Nessus, which is probably one of the, if you're trying to look for like a help desk tool, it's probably one of the easier ones to use out. A lot of companies run those, so you can know what all kind of updates and what they're going to be attacking. We can simultaneously there. So there is a lot you can see in differences on how and how everything else there. The big thing is we're also looking at how the difference of the systems work, because again, we're trying to compare a Debian-based system, which is what if you're looking at something like the UDM Pro is based off of, and compare to using FreeBSD, because that's what your with your pfSense is based off of. Again, the nice thing about it is you can the pfSense is you can, if you get a computer with just 2 Ethernet cards, it's easy to run this as a router and have this to run all your capabilities. If you want to run a VPN, you can easily run a VPN. There's a lot of security features you can build in the pfSense firewall, or have it where you may be able to have your make it kind of like a DMZ, and have it where you're placing your maybe having your main network and have a sub network with this the pfSense firewall, and then run a couple machines off of that if you were trying to plug into like the local LAN connection that you want to be maybe have a server on that end that you want to be able to connect with, because that's going to be the big thing, is knowing, again, these are things you can be able to do. So this gives you a lot of customization hardware. If you have any older computers, you can fill them up with if you want to turn into really kind of as an access with a router and be able to have the capabilities, we can be able to run this, and this can actually run as your router there. You can take this firewall, configure it as a WAN and LAN side of it, and actually turn any old computer really easily into a router there. Now, if it's power efficient, probably not, depending on what kind of computer you're running. you need at least 2 Ethernet cards to be able to make it work properly, because you need the WAN side and you need the LAN side. But after you do that, technically, as long as you have a dual NIC on it, or at least a way to be able to plug into that, the world's to your oyster there, because of the fact that you can very easily making configurations. Maybe you have an older computer laying around, you want to use this, or maybe the other things you may want to be setting up. Maybe you got a really nice new computer that you want to be able. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have a server you want to just run as a virtualized network and just run this in the for the instance, and then there's other services you can run in the background. So there's a lot you can be able to do with this pfSense firewall and security, and we're not even talking about all the other server utilities we can be able to run and other virtual machines we can run on for security, and there's a lot we can be able to do. Again, I think this is really important, this to kind of go through, know your security, know your protocols, knowing those things. And we'll go ahead and go through a little bit more of them, and we can go, and if anybody else has any other tests they would suggest us running, we'll definitely do that. I can definitely, if you want to see what it'll be like, if you want to see what it'd be trigger, like if we would run a, like for example, I could go here and do this here. Let's go ahead and grab this IP. And we're going to we're going to head and pull this up here. Sudo nmap -a capitalize P, and we just want to paste our address in here. Go ahead and run this here. So let me go ahead and log in here. In a second, we should be able to start seeing the Nmap scan running here. Tell here that, let's see here, 330, and there we are. See, there is one person in app player detected protocol only in one direction, so it recognizes, hey, we're trying to do something here. Here's everything it picks up here, and we can tell here that we did a pretty decent job, because again, only thing it tells us, hey, we only have a couple ports open. It says, hey, we found out this is a pfSense, but there's not really much it picked up here, and we can tell that it said, hey, we only have one hop. Here's our connection here with our detection here. Tell them, it says, look, we're running on a virtual machine. So you can see here that tells us what we're looking for. So it's a good idea here, and this is just showing you what an Nmap scan looks like on this. So you can see how well I can say this is one of the things is, if you want a firewall that gives you pretty much endless possibilities, a lot of configuration, definitely using something like the pfSense firewall, especially with the 2.5 update with the setup wizard. It made it extremely easy to be able to use. Now, there is pro versions of Sericado you can get a lot more information on. I just use the free versions. Again, I like using the free-based software, and you can program your own modulars if you want. And nice thing about it is with the community editions you have, the world is whatever you want to be able to make for it. But again, this is tools you can be able to test, and it shows you how well this works here. But it's kind of like, the question is, do I want to use the hammer or do I want to use the sledgehammer to get into things? But also at the same time is, do I want to go and try to break that into the metal door, or do I want to break the brick wall? They both are going to have different services, kind of like the UDM Pro is kind of like that brick wall. It does give me some protection, but again, if a small hammer is probably not going to go very far through it. But if I want to go, and if I have a sledgehammer and I want to hit pretty hard on it, It's going to take a lot compared to the steel door we have, kind of like your pfSense firewall. It makes a little bit. It's going to be completely different. Not saying that they don't, that the UDM Pro does not have a good firewall. It has a very good for what it is. But again, if it doesn't give you a lot of customizations, you don't know the rule sets you have, and you can't make a lot of configuration changes, and that's going to be the big problem. So, and then you're still going to be and then you're also based off of how the vulnerabilities both free VSD and compared to using some that compared to Debian. So they both have advantages and disadvantages. They have configuration differences. So just to show you what we can be able to run, and so this is just to show the video in my series here, just to compare these two different ones here. And we can kind of compare, like, here's what the kind of just basically here. Let's go ahead and open up my UDM Pro here. Just take me a few moments. I'll go ahead and get logged in. And here, we'll go ahead and do this. It'll take me a second to log in here. And since we get logged in, we'll kind of show the difference between these really quickly here, because I think that's going to be important here. And here you can see how our alerts kind of differ here. If you want to kind of have a, let's see if I can pull this side by side here. Here's this. Just try to pull this across. See how it kind of differs and how they do scans and our traffic log. This has a more visual effect, which is the nice thing about it is here. This is kind of more like a don't have as much visualizing what you're trying to look at here, but again, if you want to kind of see how the logs differ between the two here, so we'll go ahead and so you can see how the logs kind of differ from giving a lot of information. They both kind of give you that. You can see here it kind of tells us where interface, where it's coming from. There, I like it how this has a country breakdown that tells us the breakdown of how that there. If you go to Saracata logs, you can see the kind of the same thing here. So we can be able to do that. So let's go ahead and get to our here, Saracata. And then we want to go to alerts. And you can kind of see here that has alerts and tells us where it comes from here. Granted, I just have this local. I don't have this on the WAN side of everything. This is actually my WAN logs of all the countries that tag me. But it kind of show you directly of where is kind of scrolling down through here. You can actually see everything here from the standpoint on how the logs differ here. And we can see if anybody's trying to attack my honeypot, and it looks like somebody has tried to attack my honeypot. It's a good way to be able there. It's a good idea to run those. So every once in a while, we can run the same thing on here, but it's just kind of showing you how the firewall logs rule are a little bit different. But this is more of the comparison with the UDM Pro, at least a little bit towards the end of this. But so if you want to go to pretty much you want a comparison video on it, so the around the 20 minute mark on this video. Again, these are kind of, this is the pfSense firewall video, just going to show you here. Here's the Nessus scan, so you want to see the difference between what we picked up on here. This is the basic network scan compared to this network scan, so you can see there's a difference here of them. So we're just showing here, and there's all our logs there that you can see there. So anytime we get any kind of new updates on our UDM Pro, I will be releasing any new videos. They haven't released any new updates here, so I don't have any new videos on that side. So as soon as I release the 1.9 firmware, I will definitely, as soon as I get a hold of either the beta or the direct version of it, I will definitely go through this. We'll break it down. As soon as they're supposed to be coming out with some new software pretty soon for the UDM Pro, and any kind of those updates, we'll go through them. Just like the thing I think is good there, we had the pfSense Firewall 2.5. We will go ahead and go through how I set it up. So if you want to actually go through one of the tutorials on how to use pfSense Firewall, we will go through that later. This is just a more of here's how to testing, because that's what the series we're in, but we will go through them more in the future. Because again, knowing how to install it and go those kind of things here will make a difference. I want to make sure I don't know what my audiences are really looking for here, because I want to kind of show you here's what we can look at it, because again, I think research is kind of important, but we kind of go through everything here.